Supplement sellers want us to think that vitamin D is a magical cure for sleep apnea. But here's something they will never tell you. Vitamin D for sleep apnea can be a horrible mistake for some people that can lead to scary symptoms like muscle aches, palpitations, dizziness, and more. That's something you'll never hear from those supplement sellers because they're too busy promising you miracle results that just go over the moon while ignoring what the scientific literature actually says about what vitamin D can actually do for sleep apnea. And that's why I'm here to bring you the truth about how vitamin D really interacts with sleep apnea. In fact, you'll see that taking vitamin D is like pouring fuel into a car that has a hole in the gas tank. It's just going to waste, and there's a deeper underlying issue at play that you need to address. So, in this episode, I'm going to peel back the layers on this vitamin D sleep apnea controversy and give you 3 simple steps to outperform vitamin D so you can fast track your journey towards the quiet, rejuvenating sleep you've been dreaming of. I'm Dr. Dylan Peckus, your guide in overcoming sleep apnea naturally. If you're new here, or maybe you've been here a few times, please make sure to subscribe so you stay up to date with all the latest and greatest updates about addressing your sleep apnea with natural methods. Now, for vitamin D here, what we need to talk about. This is big because a lot of times people, whether they email me, they're like, "Oh, I just told just take vitamin D. That'll fix everything for sleep apnea." Now, this is from Dr. Berg, and overall, I think he's great. I'm not here to bash people. Okay, that's not very productive. The major consensus, or just the initial thought of this, of everyone with sleep apnea is vitamin D deficient. Is that true? Vitamin D has been shown to get rid of sleep apnea. Is that true? These are the claims we need to investigate, because if we don't, then we're just stuck buying a vitamin D supplement, which isn't terrible in its own right, but it could be a waste of time or just take away your hope. So I want to be able to show you like what the heck the truth is about vitamin D in obstructive sleep apnea. So this one is over from the UK, where they put an O in apnea. Super weird. Stop doing that. Now, what they found here, the highlights, which I highlighted, see there, is that when you look at vitamin D levels in people with sleep apnea versus people who don't have sleep apnea, yes, it is lower. Here's the difference. Basically, 17.5 for sleep apnea versus 20 in people without sleep apnea. That is a difference of 2.5 nanograms per ml. That's like not a big difference at all. You can change that in one afternoon on a nice beach in Florida. And then even further, if you look at differences in obstructive sleep apnea severity, yes, again, it's statistically significant, but for each threshold you go up in severity from mild, moderate to severe, you go down like one vitamin D point. Yeah, you go from 18 to 17 to 16. So it's not that big of a like red flag. To make this point very clear, we're going to look at 2 maps. Here is vitamin D deficiency across the world. Here you go. And here's obstructive sleep apnea across the world. For both of them, they are different colors. Yes, the darker the colors are, well, especially on this map, that means there's more sleep apnea on here. The darker it is, I mean, there's a color grade over here, there is more vitamin D deficiency. So there's some big mismatches here. Look on the west here. Canada, US, way higher vitamin D deficiency than, say, Brazil. Yet, we see pretty much the opposite down here. There's more obstructive sleep apnea in Brazil than less than Canada in the United States, despite those countries having more vitamin D deficiencies. Let's do it on the east side of the world. So we look at here. What has really bad vitamin D deficiency? China. Even worse than Russia. We look over here. Oh my God, it's the exact opposite. There is more obstructive sleep apnea in Russia than there is China. China has more vitamin D deficiency, yet less obstructive sleep apnea. So it's not really a straightforward correlation. It's not. It is not. Okay. Now, it doesn't mean it's useless. I'll show you why vitamin D can be helpful and a better way to address that in a moment, but I want to make it clear. I don't want to hear it ever again. That vitamin D will cure sleep apnea. It's such a weak relationship. Okay. Now, there is one study. I want to address this one because this is cited a lot by people of like vitamin D will get rid of sleep apnea. So let's look at another study. Patients are taking 50,000 IUs of vitamin D every day. Supplementation for 8 weeks. That's a lot of vitamin D. They're going to be like oozing vitamin D at the end of that. And look at this. Their AHI, on average, in the beginning, was 8.9. That's mild, very mild. Less than 5 is no sleep apnea. And then at the end of 8 weeks, they got to 5.5. Let's say we go from 9 to 5.5. That is a 3.5 reduction in AHI. That's not a lot or very meaningful. Or for people who are like most of you, who may have moderate, severe, or like in the 50s or 60s or 70s on your AHI and having incredibly severe sleep apnea. So, yes, it has been shown to lower AHI, but by very little, very similar to what we said. It's statistically significant, great. Oh, we got a p-value, delicious, but it's not really physiologically meaningful. So now at this point in time, I will, if you're someone you're going to comment, you're going to be upset with me because of what I've shared, and that. So this is my rally the troops card, because there will be comments like this, and I got this from one of Dr. Berg's video sections here, where it's basically recounting, 3 months ago, my dad had this, da 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 da, and he took a bunch of vitamin D, and now he's all better. Okay. These anecdotes exist. However, to say that vitamin D in isolation is helpful, so you should take massive amounts of it, is disingenuous and downright harmful. Because when you're selling supplements or you're just saying things online, you do not deal with what I deal with. You do not. You do not deal with consequences of bad actions from other sources of information. So here's an email that I got. This is someone who I didn't know them before this email, but essentially they're saying, sorry for the long email. Feel really bad. Let me kind of zoom out a little bit so you can see it. Feel really bad. Can't explain it. Feel like I'm shutting down. I get emails like this all the time, unfortunately. My muscles are aching. I feel exhausted. My heart's pounding. It's skipping. I'm thirsty. I just can't keep up. I'm queasing my stomach, etc., 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 all over the place, etc., etc. And in communicating with this person, found out that guess what they were doing? They were doing about, I think it was like 10 or 20,000 IUs of vitamin D per day. This is hypercalcemia. This is a side effect of taking too much vitamin D because someone said it would cure everything. You need to be careful, because the thing is, vitamin D is not fixing the real problem. There's a real problem underneath all of this, and one of them being is what I call one thingitis, of where you watch a bunch of videos, maybe you watch a bunch of my videos. Now you're taking copper and choline and all these different things. And that's not really the point, that there's going to be one thing that cures this. It's really being able to find what works for you, or having someone guide you in that process. Because otherwise, you have one thingitis where you're stacking up a bunch of different supplements because you thought each one would have this massive difference. Okay, it's about a lot of things coming together. Because when you're doing vitamin D or having one thingitis, you're not at the root of the problem here. So that's why next two things I want to cover is, what is vitamin D really targeting, and how can we do that instead in a way better method so you're not having these issues. So the bottom line from the previous section is just quite simply, vitamin D is not this magical cure-all, yet it can help some people in some scenarios. We need to understand why it can be beneficial and how we can learn from that and apply it in a different way so it's fully beneficial. So stick with me here. Everybody's favorite French physicist, say his name? Pasquale, yeah. Okay. You think I'm strange, you're correct. All you have to know is that the wider a tube is, like your airway, it's just a tube, the wider that is, it will exponentially allow for easier airflow to the fourth power. This is the fancy mathematical way of saying that small changes in airway size lead to big changes in airway flow. So for instance, if you go from 1.2 centimeters in your airway to 1.5 centimeters, that's a 0.3 centimeter difference. That's like really small. But that change will increase airflow by 95%, nearly double. Here's the math, you can check it. And if you're someone who may be thinking, but 1.5 centimeters, my airway is way bigger than that, you're correct. The smallest radius of your airway will be the rate limiting part of how much airflow you can have. For instance, you can have a big, throat, but if you're breathing through a straw, now you're limited by that. So now you know. Okay, so back to this whole vitamin D thing. What is this interchange between, okay, there's vitamin D, obstructive sleep apnea. What's this mechanism in the middle here? Vitamin D is the most potent daytime anti-inflammatory that your body can make. If you've been around a while, you've seen this graphic. I use it a lot. I should probably pay these people royalties, all 25 cents on this. And this shows that obstructive sleep apnea leads to a lot of inflammation. That's the link. That is the core mechanism in the middle, because inflammation will make your breathing worse if you have a smaller air tube. Airflow gets way harder. Inflammation will give you a smaller air tube. So inflammation is the link between vitamin D and obstructive sleep apnea. Because you have a lot of inflammation going on, harder to breathe, you have more obstructive sleep apnea, you have more inflammation, so on and so forth. Just to make that clear, if you have obstructive sleep apnea, you will have inflammation ongoing at all times. Vitamin D will just reduce that, but vitamin D is used up in the process. So if you still have the thing causing the inflammation, then you can take vitamin D till it's like coming out of your nose. It's not going to actually lead to good progress because you have a leak in your gas tank in your body. That's why the three things I'll show you in terms of how to do better than vitamin D will target this inflammatory aspect of it. So its main inflammation mechanism is what we need to target. I'm going to give you three. You actually get 4 ways. I threw in a bonus one. Now, before we get into those 4 action steps, I want to ask you, how would you rate your experience? Having a good time, kind of bored? Maybe you already left. I don't know. Can't really speak to you if that's the case. If you are having a good time, make sure you please subscribe, because then you don't miss a single beat on me talking about whether it's breathing exercises, other vitamins, other minerals, other exercises you can be doing to improve your sleep apnea. Not just saying this because it's me, because I think it's really true. This is the only, and therefore best, channel about naturally addressing sleep apnea. And of course, as you subscribe, then that helps our message get out to more people. So you're really helping all the other people who are struggling just like you. So if you're on your phone or desktop, just find that little subscribe button just underneath the title of this video. Go ahead and click that. If you're on Roku, like 40% of you are, and if that's you, you may feel like I'm invading your privacy by knowing that. All you gotta do is press up on the remote. Something pops up, a menu. A menu pops up, like a little play bar stuff. You navigate, you click left or right, go to my face, click, my face there, and then it should ask you to subscribe. You click that, and then you just go back. Pretty easy. So let's talk about how to fix this. 3 ways, really 4 ways. Number 1, you may feel betrayed. Vitamin D, hear me out, okay? Don't feel like this is all a lie for nothing. Okay. Vitamin D is a great anti-inflammatory. It is. And it has a lot of great other health benefits and reduces the damage. I would say increasing vitamin D consumption or production, talk about that in a moment, is a good holding pattern for sleep apnea for the grand majority of people. Okay, not for everyone, because again, we haven't fixed the underlying issue. And there's better ways to address the inflammation. The vitamin D and the sun is going to be better than artificial, which is going to be better than food, which is going to be better than supplements. Okay, and this will be a quick aside here because I don't want to go on this huge tangent. But for sun and artificial light, you need to be sensible. Okay, don't become a lobster. Don't do that. And the reason I want to point this out, because I don't want you to live through your life thinking you're allergic to the sun. Maybe you are, but probably not. Because the fact of the matter is, before I show you this map, because people might be thinking, oh, skin cancer. I hear you. Quiz time. What states do you think are the highest in melanoma, the most deadly skin cancer? You want to guess? If you guessed Florida, perhaps Texas, perhaps Louisiana, the southeast of the United States, you're wrong. Let's look. So here's a map from the CDC, and where we actually see the most melanoma are in these states up here. And I'm pretty sure that's Idaho, and I'm pretty sure that's Montana. And I'm stretching over here to think that, oh my goodness, one of these is Vermont. I'm not sure what the other one is, though. Don't trust me on geography. But nonetheless, the point is you can see a higher density of melanoma cases. So the darker this is, more melanoma. Whereas in these more southern states, yes, it's still elevated in Florida, but I'm going to say that's probably from all the people up north coming down. Just saying. Just saying. But it's not as pronounced as we would think it is up north here. And that's because when people aren't prepared for the sun, they spend like 9 months out of the year, then they go out for summer vacation and their skin's not ready. Yeah, they're going to get burnt and bad things are going to happen. That's why I say sensible sun exposure is great. My public service announcements is done. Now for top vitamin D foods, here's your screenshot of the day. Just kind of move right past that. Now, I wanted to add in another one, is resveratrol. And if you had to pick between the two to specifically target the inflammation associated with obstructive sleep apnea, I would go with resveratrol over vitamin D. That's me. The reason for this is that resveratrol will reduce the bad effects of something known as hypoxia inducible factor, HIF. It will reduce the effects of it. And that metabolite, this little thing here, this is what mediates or really causes the damage of sleep apnea because oxygen levels go low, and then this protein is activated, and that's what wreaks havoc throughout. So resveratrol will reduce that. That's why I like resveratrol. So there you go. Don't drink red wine because that's going to be counterproductive. And resveratrol. Now, number 2 is hypoxia training. Think of this as oxygen training. And this has to do with our HIF, hypoxia inducible factor. Now, we're going to get a little nitty gritty on the biochemistry. Sorry, not sorry. But if we zoom way in, we will see a blurry image, but most importantly, HIF1. Very important, HIF1. They named it that, not because they were expecting a franchise in the series, okay, but there's another HIF, and these scientists so cleverly named it HIF2. So here's our nuanced science alert. So there's HIF1 and HIF2. Yes, I switched up the acronym. So HIF1 or HIF1, it's the fast and responsive and reactive version of this protein, and that's why sleep apnea is deadly, causes damage, heart attacks go up, strokes go up because of this. But there's HIF2, which is slow and adaptive, which is why swimmers are very healthy overall, because they're going through a lot of hypoxia, holding their breath, etc. And when you are lowering your oxygen levels in a controlled environment, you will activate HIF2, which will promote more healthy things to happen inside of the cell. So, if we could activate HIF2 instead of HIF1, that would help us very specifically do sleep apnea. Let's talk. This here is what a portion of a sleep study can look like. This is more of a medical school diagram. But when we have an apnea episode, when you stop breathing, you will have your heart rate go up. This is a physiological response. You stop breathing in an abrupt way at night. You're not prepared for it, and your heart rate will go up as a response. Think of this as the HIF1 response. This is not good. This is not what we want. However, if you train your body's hypoxia tolerance, we'll talk about that in a moment, you get this. You will have dips in oxygen still. Okay? Everything's not going to change overnight. But look at this. No change in heart rate. That's because instead of having a HIF1 response, you had a HIF2 response. All right? Your body is more resilient to oxygen levels going low, so you don't have this heart rate response. Really, really important. So that's why doing hypoxia training, which is simply just doing breath holds 2 to 3 times per day or every other day, depending on how your system feels and those different factors, that can start to train your HIF2 a little bit, so you have more of a HIF2 response as opposed to a 1 response, which we don't want. So that's something you can consider adding. Thing number 3 or 4, forget where we are, is CO2 tolerance training. So the previous thing was about oxygen. This is about carbon dioxide. So for this, what you need to know is that sleep apnea fundamentally is you have a faster inhale, which is precipitated by a more narrow airway. But if you don't want to get surgery and stuff, you kind of just got to work around it. Because of that, you'll have a faster inhale, and that will pull things down into your airway and block it off. Not good. So if we have a slower inhale, this will keep things nice and open. Now, the best way to retrain your body to a slower breathing pattern at night, you need to train yourself doing it during the day, because then you start to wire your brain to do that, so that at night it automatically happens. Simplest way, very entry-level way, is about 5 to 10 minutes, 1 hour before bed, do a slow half inhale. What that means is maybe for 4 seconds, only inhale half as much as you can, like fill up half of your lungs. Okay? And then you want to exhale as slow and controlled as possible. And then you do the slow half inhale, so on and so forth. This should feel slightly uncomfortable, not fully uncomfortable. And the more you do this, it will retrain your body. The more you train this, it'll get your body to have a better CO2 tolerance so you breathe slower at night. So that is the major thing. Now, I know there's a ton of information, which is why I made you the guide here, the vitamin D and sleep apnea guide. And I mean, it's pretty simple. It just outlines what we talked about here, goes a little bit deeper into details because I don't want to overload you, and gives you some easy examples you can start implementing today. So if you want everything written out, what we just said, here is your time to shine. I'll tell you how to get that in just a moment. Because the other thing, other great bonus for you is the sleep apnea reset protocol workshop. So we talked about some basic exercises to get started with on the carbon dioxide and the O2 training. That's great. If you want a deeper dive on how to apply that more for yourself at a more personal level, this is a great start. This video course is a great resource. You take a deeper dive on that, watch a video. I walk you through a series of tasks so you can really have an upgraded protocol to make progress even faster. So to get that, there should be a button on screen. Go ahead and click that. And for either one of them, it's pretty easy. There will be a link in the description. So for the free guide, and we'll really both of them. If you're on mobile, this is the only instruction you have to follow. You just click the title, and then it pops up with the description box, and then you just find the link. Okay, if you're on your computer or Roku, you just navigate to the description box, find that. The link is there for you. And same thing for the sleep apnea reset protocol. There's also a button underneath everything. It's like a little icon, super easy to click and super easy to find. And of course, if you're into links and all that, maybe you're on one device, you want to use another device like your desktop or something, I got links for you. So for the guide, go to ochnow.com/vitamin D. Type that in. Or if you want the reset protocol, go to ochnow.com/reset. And if you're super cool and into technology, I got some QR codes, really advanced sciences here on the left for the guide, on the right for the reset. And of course, if you're still here, like 20% of people that start this video, you're the few, the proud, and the please subscribe. I didn't have anything very profound to say there, but just one more time, don't want to miss a beat. Make sure you stay up to date. Click subscribe just underneath the video there, and also help us help the world by getting the message out. And it's pretty easy on those other devices. Roku, you gotta click up, click left, right, click my face, click subscribe. You're good to go. So I'm Dr. Dylan Peckus. I'll put those links back up on the screen. Choose your adventure, choose your health, and have a great day.